Hello everyone, welcome to Story Retold. Calina here, continuing with the finale of reacting to Arglefumph's Everything Wrong with the Nancy Drew Games series. Now, due to NDA, I cannot speak to anything from the production side or behind the scenes side of this game, Midnight in Salem. So this video is primarily just going to be my reactions and only that. Sorry, I can't say very much of what happened behind the scenes or some of the decisions that were made. This video is also going to be broken up into two parts because of how long Arglefumph's video is. So let's get right into it, and please leave your comments down below. Also go to the link down below to Arglefumph's complete playlist of the other Nancy Drew videos, Everything Wrong With series that he did, which is very entertaining. So here we go, let's play. There are spoilers for this game.
It takes over 10 seconds of loading just to get to the title screen.
Yes, I know.
Unlike previous games, it's not explained how Amateur Sleuth and Master Sleuth modes are different from each other.
True.
The game's tutorial fails to explain you can skip cutscenes and dialogue. Nancy goes on vacation and accidentally uncovers a mystery cliché.
Yeah, but she kind of gets sent there on a mission for her dad. To Austria first, and then a crime happens and she falls into it, so yeah.
The subtitles in the opening scene because they disappear whenever the screen fades to black. These tree leaves. Multiple times, the text box has a comma where there should be a period. This screen fades in from black for one frame, then fades in from black a second time.
I know.
Feels like ages since I was on my last adventure.
It was 4.5 years between this game and the previous one, and I am still bitter about it.
I know, and it was very nice of the team to add that acknowledgement in the form of Nancy's voice and with that line. I appreciate the line.
The first minute of the game is Nancy looking around a dark room.
Is locked, and I don't...
The subtitles aren't synced with the dialogue.
I know.
Many times throughout the game, there is a text box that is just one word. The window to the room is closed, but it was opened 20 seconds ago during the opening scenes.
Good catch.
Where I am right now, actually. Hot on the trail of the Book of Apologies, in the castle archive.
Nancy isn't in the castle archive. The text box is inconsistent about whether or not Dad is capitalized.
No.
The text box displays an incorrect number of no's.
I've never actually been in that room.
How does Dr. Hurst know what's in the room if she's never been inside?
Exist in this castle, and if they do exist...
Dr. Hurst says ghosts exist, then immediately says if they exist. Do they exist or not, Dr. Hurst?
Right?
Dr. Hurst builds suspense for a ghost sighting that never occurs.
I know.
Ghost? Can't say I've ever seen one.
Liar.
Nancy forgets about the ghosts in Message in a Haunted Mansion, Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, Secret of Shadow Ranch, Haunting of Castle Malloy, Shadow at the Water's Edge, and Ghost of Thornton Hall. Besides for the Book of Apologies, absolutely nothing in this room is relevant to the rest of the game.
There really isn't much here.
Yes, Judge Sewell was a Puritan.
That feels like an excuse to justify starting the game in an empty room.
Some of this stuff looks very old.
How can you tell? It's behind a sheet. Dr. Hurst hides behind a door to save on animation.
A book written by Judge Samuel Sewell himself, detailing the names of people accused of witchcraft. It was a ledger containing all the names of the accused witches from the Salem witch trials.
Dr. Hurst explains what the Book of Apologies is twice.
Chest. But it won't open.
The game teases us with a locked chest which is never opened.
I know.
He wrote the book as a means to make amends.
Allegedly.
Allegedly? Why is Nancy casting doubt on Judge Sewell's motives?
Good question.
Many times in the game, the text box has opening quotation marks that aren't followed by closing quotation marks.
Yeah.
Why is the left-hand side of the maze blocked off? How does
Right?
Nancy know this is the Book of Apologies? The book isn't labeled.
True.
This lock is incredibly shallow. The AW key is far too large to completely fit into it.
I commented on that too.
A-W. Any ideas?
Nancy forgets she just read a letter to a woman with the initials AW.
I have some tools in the shop that might be able to cut it free. In my shop.
Dr. Hurst clarifies that the tools in the shop are in the shop.
Wait for me.
Nancy says this, then proceeds to stand in place. Did you want to look at the scenery here? Too bad! It's blurry the whole time.
Yeah.
Nancy answers a long-distance phone call, even though she's too busy to talk right now, and she doesn't like the person who's calling.
I know.
The shadow on the wall shows the Book of Apologies floating in midair.
Oh.
What happened to the cage that was holding the Book of Apologies?
Right.
Jason jumped from this window to the ground without hurting himself.
Right.
How did Jason enter this window from the outside without a ladder?
I know.
Stop! Stop running!
Does Nancy seriously think the culprit will stop running because she asked him to?
Maybe.
Jason crawls away from the crime scene in order to give Nancy enough time to catch up to him. Nancy jumps off a bridge without first checking to see how far down the jump is. She's lucky she's not dead right now. The ground is fairly close to the bridge here, but Nancy runs forward and jumps off at a place where the ground is farther away. Jason stands in place and does nothing, so Nancy can catch up to him.
Yeah.
Jason is standing upright, but when the cutscene starts, he's hunched over. What is Jason doing here? He appears to be looking at something in his hands, but when he turns, his hands are empty.
Yeah.
Jason's hands are empty, and I don't see any pockets in his clothes. Where did the Book of Apologies go?
Good question.
Nancy's phone buzzes, but the screen is blank.
Yeah.
Every other time her phone buzzes in this game, the screen shows who's calling. We
Inconsistent.
never find out who called Nancy here.
Come on.
Jason waits for Nancy's phone to finish buzzing before he reacts to it. Nancy doesn't try chasing Jason a second time.
I know.
The ground is empty during this scene. The evidence on the ground magically appears once the scene is over.
Yeah.
Nancy knows the culprit's flight number, seat number, and departure time. She could easily use this information to identify the culprit, but she doesn't.
Sad.
The two plane tickets are slightly different sizes. One plane ticket has a perforated edge, and the other does not.
You know where I am right now? Salem.
That's a weird way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
Salem. As in, witch trial Salem?
Obvi.
There are 27 Salems in the United States, making it the 5th most common name for a city. So, no, Deirdre, it's not Obvi where you're calling from.
Yep, that's fair.
Nancy accepts the case from Deirdre without any questions.
Yeah, that's odd
Even
for
though
her.
last time Deirdre got Nancy a case, Nancy was almost killed multiple times.
I'd be
Why
suspicious.
is Nancy wearing May's sweater? Deirdre's giant neck. Deirdre repeats the same 3 animations over and over again.
Yep.
These
Yep.
opening scenes go on forever. Why don't the characters in this game ever stop talking?
Because the script is really
You
long.
can easily get to Hathorn House from the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Nancy ever approach it from this direction?
Right?
If you pause at the start of this scene, you see the lawn is clear.
Uh-huh.
The next second, rocks, leaves, and shadows magically pop into existence.
I know.
The red wall on the right disappears. This bush should be visible in the far-off shot, but it's not. This opening shot of Hathorn House doesn't match the house as it appears in the game.
That's
The
right.
trees, bushes, and grass are all different.
I know.
The wall of rock to the left of the house has turned into a hedge. Lauren's house changes colors from brown to green. The gray pathway leading to the doorway is replaced with a series of rocks leading to the door.
Oh, yeah.
Large plants are added to the right of the doorway. Deirdre drives past the Hathorn house, but she does not drive past the cemetery and town square, which are right next to the Hathorn house.
Correct.
Deirdre drives without turning the steering wheel. Deirdre is driving a manual car, but she never switches gears.
She's steady.
There are multiple cars on this road, which are all driven by the exact same person.
But the person who lived there had to move out.
Wrong. Lauren never lived in Hathorn House. She lived in the carriage house.
Correct.
Take my lead, okay?
Deirdre insists on being in charge, then proceeds to follow Nancy the entire game.
Yeah.
My experience, we can cover twice as much ground if we work side by side.
Wrong. You cover twice as much ground if you split up.
Yep, that's the saying.
Messing it up by being too you. You're a question machine.
Which is wrong.
Deirdre expects Nancy to solve the mystery without questioning any suspects.
Yeah.
This requires gentle handling. Delicate.
Deirdre forgets this on day 3 of the game, when she starts hurling wild accusations at Lauren.
She meant May.
Deirdre's right pant leg goes over her coat. Deirdre's pants are tucked into her shoes. Deirdre does a terrible job of summarizing the case.
The Hathorn house is haunted.
Nancy waits 20 seconds before responding. Deirdre parks her car facing the wrong direction.
That's correct.
Deirdre's butt.
What's wrong?
There is a 12-second cutscene of Nancy and Deirdre walking to a door.
And Nancy looks tall.
Tegan Perry.
What?
All the characters in this game constantly sway left and right, like they don't know how to stand up.
I understand.
Tegan and many other characters constantly hold their arms at a weird angle. Tegan turns her head and stares at nothing while the camera resets itself. This sentence doesn't have a period at the end.
Uh-oh.
Tegan's fingers go through each other.
Oh, yeah.
How are you, Deirdre?
The characters' mouths keep moving after they finish talking.
Lag. Game lag.
Same neighborhood for 20 years and
The Perrys have lived here for over 300 years.
Ah.
there's clam chowder, homemade. I could get you more chowder.
The characters talk about clam chowder, but we never see any.
Yeah, it's too bad, huh?
Deirdre, sorry, you're bunking with May.
Why can't Deirdre sleep in the parents' bedroom?
Fair.
That was 2 questions. I said 1.
Tegan wants Nancy to solve the case, but she refuses to answer any questions, and she refuses to let Nancy talk to May. How does she expect Nancy to solve the case?
Magic.
Deirdre knows the answers that Tegan is unwilling to give. Why doesn't she tell Nancy?
Right?
Tegan cares more about Nancy visiting the museum than about Nancy solving the case.
Yep.
Time for 1 question, if it'll help. Look, I appreciate you want help, but I don't want you dragging all that up and upsetting May.
Tegan says she wants to help, but immediately refuses to help.
Contradiction.
Is there some other fire I need to know about?
Yes, and it makes no sense for the characters to keep this information a secret from Nancy.
Exactly.
How does Tegan get to work? She doesn't have a car.
Are you sure that red car that was parked out in the front wasn't hers?
Nice to meet you.
May is a jerk. Why
Yeah.
are we helping her again? A white square flashes in the lower left corner during this cutscene.
Oh, yeah.
In the kitchen.
That's annoying.
Deirdre says this to someone who's standing in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Ready to leave yet? We don't have all day.
Deirdre sits down, then complains that they aren't leaving. Deirdre stands through the table.
Oh, yeah.
Tegan said you've been in town for days, but you haven't come by.
Where was Deirdre staying the last few days?
That was part of the mystery for her to solve. Part of the suspicion on Deirdre.
Actually doing before you picked me up from the airport.
Deirdre has been in town for several days, but she only explains what she did earlier this morning.
Yeah.
What did she do yesterday or the day before that?
Fair question.
Went to the police station.
This is a useful thing that Nancy doesn't do.
Right.
They're still going through the evidence.
The police are going through the evidence against May, but for the rest of the game, we're assured there is no evidence against her.
Oh, contradiction. Yeah. Very good catch.
Some weirdo there who told me the ghost was...
Deirdre takes advice from random weirdos.
Does she?
Everyone in the game acts like Judge Danforth is the one who decides who gets arrested, which is not true. The police decide who to arrest, not the local judge.
Correct.
Means, motive, and opportunity. See if anyone checks off those 3 boxes.
Nancy doesn't investigate this angle.
Experience?
It's usually something much more personal.
Both Deirdre and Nancy act like they don't remember the arson case in Alibi in Ashes.
Probably because the writer didn't, or wasn't familiar with Alibi and Ashes.
The clocks in this game are all stuck at 10:13.
Yeah, that's a lower
Sometimes the
priority.
game glitches and leaves fall when Nancy is inside. Nancy can never enter May's room.
I know!
Nancy can't ask May about anything useful or relevant.
Found it.
Low-effort Easter egg. We never learn who wrote this note or why.
I think we do. Depends on the angle of the questions.
Ned complains about Nancy not picking up her phone when he never picks up his phone.
Yeah.
Where is Ned?
At a party.
Why did Nancy and Ned go on separate vacations at the same time?
Sorry, I've been on a flight.
Busy on another case, huh?
Ned knows Nancy was in Austria. Why does Ned assume she was flying to a new case instead of assuming she's flying back home?
I'll call you later.
Call you later, Nancy.
We never learn who this woman is, or why she has Ned's phone. Who is she?
Yes, that was my voice acting. I was the mysterious girl, but you're right. It is not resolved in the game who the giggly girl, that's the name of this character, giggly girl was. The whole point was for Nancy to become jealous that Ned is out having fun. He's at a party. He's hanging out with other friends. He's having a life without Nancy. That was the whole point, but you're right. It was not resolved anywhere throughout this game, which is not fair.
Deirdre is freakishly giant on the porch. Every time Nancy turns around, Deirdre is standing there staring at her.
Yes.
It's creepy.
Agreed.
Nancy doesn't question the fact that a lighter is found at a suspected arsonist's house.
Good point.
When Nancy first enters the town, this person appears from out of nowhere. The leaves at the bottom change, and the tree behind Olivia gets twice as many leaves. Nancy rudely forces herself in between these two people when there is plenty of empty space for her to stand.
Yeah.
Olivia spends the first day of the game looking at a bale of hay, instead of at the audience she's performing for. Everyone stands around and does nothing long after Olivia's show is over.
Yeah.
So cool.
Nancy and this random guy react to Olivia's magic trick before she does it.
Bad timing.
It's never explained how Jason learned Olivia's smoke bomb trick.
Yeah.
When Jason does the smoke bomb trick, he leaves behind an empty can.
Right.
When Olivia does the trick, there's no can.
I know. It's inconsistent.
The truth is, witches use the same kind of stage.
The audience members repeat themselves.
Yeah.
You can talk to this woman by clicking on a tree. When you talk to the
Hotspot
woman,
wrong.
the game zooms in on this man. The game reuses the same background characters multiple times. Clicking on Olivia from this angle starts a conversation with the random woman.
Hotspot.
When the background
Error.
characters talk, they don't look at each other or move their mouths.
Yeah.
The text messages are boring. The text messages are very slow.
You can click fast
This
through them.
glitch.
The judge's office is in that building.
Deirdre's directions are useless.
Yeah.
This counts as a closed-off area that Nancy can't get to.
Yep.
Hi. You've reached the phone of Private Investigator Deirdre Shannon.
If you call someone while looking at them, their mouths move.
Yes.
Why isn't Tegan involved with the massive protest that her AW group is putting on? Judge Danforth couldn't have locked himself in his office because the lock is on the outside of the door.
Yeah.
Judge Danforth is so stupid, he locked himself in his office. Why do people trust him with important legal decisions?
You'd really become my enemy if I committed a crime?
Deirdre and Nancy are already enemies.
Frenemies.
I'm with my friend Deirdre Shannon. We're investigating the arson of the Hathorn house. Judge, this is Deirdre Shannon. She's working with me on the case.
Nancy introduces Deirdre to Judge Danforth twice.
That's because he visually doesn't know which person is which. He mistakes her, Deirdre, as Nancy because he didn't know what Nancy looks like. Although it's inconsistent because he mentions how related she looks to her dad. So.
Yes, and I'm sure we can read all about the home's history in Salem's museum.
We can't read about Hathorn House anywhere in the museum.
Yeah. I mean, possibly.
Francis Tuttle
Possible it's
passed away,
there.
which left Hathorn House without a legal heir.
Why is Frances Tuttle's adopted daughter, who lived with her for over a decade, not considered an heir?
Right.
Investigation found paint solvent residue on burnt embers. suggesting someone deliberately used an accelerant.
Nobody investigates this angle,
I
even though Nancy
know.
has experience with identifying accelerants.
I know, and thank you for pointing that out.
There's only one person in all of Salem who has a history of fire-related crime.
Nancy doesn't react to this statement. You would expect her to show some surprise to learn May committed arson before. Nancy has trouble
Yeah, good point.
distinguishing between Judge Danforth's opinions and the objective fact that May is the police's prime suspect.
When she is the only likely suspect.
She isn't the only likely suspect. Many other people have motives.
Right?
The quotation marks around luminous infusions appear in separate text boxes. How did the protesters find out about the theft from the evidence room?
Right.
Why is a protester wandering around here, far from the others? Is he lost? This low-effort museum has 0 displays that Nancy can look at.
She can look at this. She can take a close-up look of this. She can read a book, but you're right. She doesn't get to look up close here or at any of the display cases, which is unfortunate and lost opportunity.
Seniors and museum members pay the same ticket price.
Yeah.
Why would any senior citizen ever become a member?
Right?
You can call Tegan from inside the museum.
That's true.
Sorry about the mess.
What mess? This place is empty.
Agreed.
Don't get suckered into that witch's walking tour. Olivia Ravencroft is not a witch.
We decided to do the Real Witches tour.
Oh, you talked to Olivia.
Tegan first tells Nancy about Olivia's tour at the Perry house. When Nancy mentions the tour later, Tegan assumes she heard about it from Olivia.
The investigating going. Any progress with May?
No, because you have forbidden Nancy from talking to May.
Right.
I've got some leads.
What are they, and why isn't Nancy following up on her leads instead of going on a sightseeing tour?
Good question.
If you come back on Halloween, I'll show you.
Tegan doesn't show you the showcase when you visit the museum on Halloween.
Too bad, huh?
Found this letter at your house.
Were you digging through our trash?
Tegan knows where the letter was found without being told.
Because, she knows about who wrote it and how it ended up there.
What can I say? I love a good puzzle.
Then you'd probably hate this game, which has only one puzzle in the first hour.
You keep your assistant out of my garbage.
Tegan says this right in front of Nancy. Tegan is a jerk.
Yeah.
Witches organization. Do you know anything about them?
Tegan fails to mention that she personally runs accused witches.
How did you perform that trick?
A witch never reveals her secrets.
Nancy should explain she needs to know this information as part of a criminal investigation.
Yep.
Nancy doesn't remember she learned about flash explosions in the final scene.
Yeah.
Olivia puts all her effort into advertising her free walking tour instead of advertising her paid nighttime tours. Olivia is terrible at business.
Yeah.
You take my self-guided tour.
Yeah.
I promise you will learn at least one secret about being a witch.
That's not part of the tour.
Right.
There's a ghost here. If you go on my tour, you'll learn where you can find it.
That's not part of the tour.
Yep, that's right.
Did you know that Salem has more ghost sightings than any other city in North America? If you
Claims.
want to learn why, you should go on my tour.
That's also not part of the tour. Olivia does false advertising.
Unless she's also referring to the nighttime tour, which she'd be kind of flipping back and forth between the two tours that she runs.
Is there any evidence of such a coven?
Nancy forgets she has a picture with the word coven written on it.
Ever since then, ghost sightings have gone through the roof.
That is evidence that ghosts exist, not evidence that a coven exists.
Right. Continuity.
Do this show.
Most nights.
Olivia says she does her show at night when she does her show during the day.
2 tours.
It's busier around Halloween.
Olivia says she does her show more often around Halloween, but it's Halloween time and she only does it once.
Right.
The game is inconsistent about whether it's one ghost or many ghosts in Salem. Where did the tour tablet come from?
Air.
Nancy doesn't give the tablet back to Olivia when the tour is done.
Yeah, it disappears from your inventory so that you don't have to return it yourself. It's kind of weird, though.
Nancy can look through this tourist.
Nice.
Nancy refuses to explore the Hathorn house until the second day of the game. Why doesn't she want to examine the crime scene right away?
I agree, that's weird.
Not yet. There are some more things I'd like to look into before I'm done.
Nancy says she has other things to do before exploring Hathorn house,
Nope.
even after you finish everything on her task list.
Yeah.
Stands Abigail Hathorn.
The game is inconsistent as to whether her name is Abigail Hathorn or Abigail Hathorn Woodley.
Yeah.
We're up in a cell deep within the Hathorn house.
Nancy knows there is a secret room in Hathorn house, but she never looks for it.
That's too bad, huh?
These candles burn for 3 days straight, and yet they never get any smaller.
They could be replaced.
I'm officially exhausted.
Deirdre complains she's worn out from investigating, even though she barely did anything.
It's Deirdre for you.
It's 10:13, and Lauren's shop is already closed for the day. Those are terrible operating hours.
Also during Halloween season?
The Raven in this window is not part of the Raven tour.
Yeah.
There are tons of tourists in town for Halloween, yet all the stores are closed.
Right.
Nancy and Deirdre relax in the car for a few minutes and listen to music together. This is super out of character for both of them.
That is true.
It sure is convenient Nancy has a forced conversation about May's favorite band a minute before she has to talk to May about her favorite band. The camera repositions itself in between Deirdre's sentences. 2 songs play at the same time during this scene.
Yeah.
This text box glitch.
Music.
May listens to music once. Text box messes up its and its. Multiple times the game uses all right instead of all right. May's right arm teleports multiple times. May's phone screen is blank. It is clearly not turned on right now.
Cared enough to get Deirdre and I involved.
It's Deirdre and me, not Deirdre and I.
See you tonight.
Tegan says see you tonight when it's already nighttime. What does Tegan do during the first night? She's not at home. Where is she?
Probably with her boyfriend again.
We hear the cemetery door open, even though the door itself stays shut. This cutscene starts with the camera changing locations.
Yep.
Olivia's items in the woods aren't visible in this scene.
Yeah.
About the Hathorn house in the globe. Tegan Perry mentioned she had hired you to investigate.
Tegan lies about hiring Nancy. Tegan is a jerk.
Yep.
Multiple times, Tegan tells Nancy not to upset May by drawing attention to her situation. So why does Tegan give newspaper interviews about the investigation?
That
Brother is trying to
contradicts
say that
what
there are
she's
some
doing.
similarities
Yes.
to an old case we worked on.
I am way more interested in revisiting an old Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys case than I am in solving this case.
I mean, fair, because I really want to know what's going on with the Hardy Boys case and why they are in the area. We don't get resolution on that. We don't get to learn more about that. Not like in the past games, like with Deadly Device, when you know that they're solving a mystery with ATAC on a submarine, we get to hear some details about it, which is really cool. Here, if this is related to Nancy's case, why aren't we helping the Hardy Boys?
Sure. If you want to send me your notes, I can look them over for you.
This never happens.
I know, right?
Once again, the camera readjusts itself at the start of the cutscene.
Yeah.
The camera readjusts itself once the cutscene ends.
Yeah.
We never learn who turned on this light.
I know.
We never learn how they got inside that room. Nancy can't get inside there.
Yeah, and at this point, Nancy has not consumed anything poisonous. So she is not imagining things, and she's not hallucinating. She is totally sane and fine and healthy. You know.
The crowbar in the bushes isn't here in this scene.
No, it's not until tomorrow.
Lauren's creepy laughing mouth.
I didn't mean to lie to you, Lauren.
Nancy apologizes for lying to Lauren, even if she didn't lie to her.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple options when you first meet her at Hathorn House. But both options, whether you lie or not, you have to respond with this, so.
What were you doing 2 nights ago?
The Book of Apologies was stolen 2 days before Nancy arrives in Salem. Why did she wait a day instead of going to Salem right away?
Yeah.
Jason's plane ticket is dated October 28th. If that was 2 days ago, it means the third day of the game takes place in November, and we missed Halloween.
Good catch. Thank you for pointing that out.
I was in my shop, like I was every night.
Lauren claims her shop is always open at night, but it's closed all 3 nights of the game.
Yeah.
Multiple times, the game hyphenates no one, which doesn't need a hyphen.
Yeah.
I have sales receipts to prove it. You come by Luminous Infusions, and I'll show you.
Lauren never shows her receipts to Nancy.
Correct.
Lauren serves tea in coffee mugs.
What's wrong with that?
We never get to explore Lauren's carriage house.
I know.
I saw the ghost out in the cemetery.
The Scarecrow?
The Scarecrow ghost isn't in the cemetery. It's in the woods past the cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, I'm remembering things.
Have you looked for the will?
Nancy knows the will exists without being told about it first.
Logic discrepancy.
According to the historical statutes of Salem, after 90 days, the house reverts to public property.
And now the judge has given me days to deliver.
Lauren is lying. She was given 90 days to find the will.
To deliver,
Days.
or the town will take control.
Days.
The state will take control of Hathorn House, not the town.
Yeah.
Why did Frances hide her will behind a series of puzzles?
Oh,
Didn't
protection.
she want Lauren to find it? A rock on the path
Well, so she left a letter for Lauren specifically to find it, so yes.
disappears as this cutscene starts.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a white blur at the left window, which never gets explained.
Yes. Right?
Is it the ghost? The camera readjusts itself at the start of this conversation.
I saw it. Or her. I guess it could have been a him too. It was too confusing to really make out.
Nancy doesn't know who the ghost is, even though the text box identified her by name.
But my instinct is...
That the two are related. The fire and the ghosts.
It turns out they're not related. Nancy has bad detective instincts.
I think in order to know, I need to see it again. And you need to come with me. Tomorrow.
This doesn't happen.
Right?
There's always an explanation. Gotta remember that.
Nancy says this after answering the phone, but the Hardy Boys don't hear it. This game has 8 questions which need question marks. The text box is inconsistent when it comes to using 2 hyphens or a dash.
Yep.
The torn note disappears from Nancy's inventory without any explanation. Nancy's task list tells her to help with breakfast before she learns breakfast needs to be made.
1 cup of sugar. 1 cup of sugar.
What Nancy says doesn't
Yeah.
match with what's written on the paper.
That's true. It says flour,
This is
flour.
not how cooking works. When a recipe calls for a cup of flour, it does not mean any random cup you have lying around your house.
Correct.
The batter changes color when Nancy moves it to the next station.
Oh, yeah.
Melted butter is clearly not melted. Joe messed up on the first 2 sets of instructions, but he wrote these ones down without any mistakes. Joe is inconsistent at taking notes.
That's Joe.
The knobs for the stove burners are all off. Nancy shouldn't be able to cook on this stove. The pancakes are on the stove and the table at the same time.
Yeah.
These look amazing.
Frank talks about how the food looks, even though he doesn't look at it.
Yeah.
Nobody eats Nancy's food. What was the point of cooking it then? Deirdre is half off screen for this entire conversation.
I have been talking recently about making things a bit more official.
The Hardys have worked for the government for the past 20 games. Why doesn't that count as official work?
Yeah.
Deirdre has a degree in criminology, but the Hardys don't try to recruit her for their detective agency.
They don't like her.
Frank disappears if you move the camera down.
Ah!
There should not be a comma after the word thing.
And around the time of the arson, there was a burglary at the judge's office.
Wrong. The arson took place at night, and the burglary took place during the day. The evidence room was robbed, not the judge's office.
Coincidental not to be connected.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It turns out the timing is just a coincidence. Both Frank and Nancy have bad detective instincts.
Apologies in Austria, as it contains a record of wronged families. The Book of Apologies. It details all the victims of the witch trials.
Nancy recaps what the Book of Apologies is twice in the same conversation. Checking everyone's alibis is a huge waste of time that leads nowhere, especially since Nancy only double-checks one alibi.
Double.
Nancy checks alibis for the theft of the Book of Apologies, but not for the theft at the courthouse.
Correct. There are a lot of alibis to check in this game, and you can only check 2. The theft for the Book of Apologies in Austria. No, I think and the arson. The arson. That was the other alibi to check. But you're right, she doesn't check the alibi for the courthouse theft.
The text box is inconsistent about whether or not the word which appears after an ellipsis is capitalized.
Obvious. I've got a burn mark covering the entire side of my face and like most of my arms.
That's not at all obvious because
Nope.
your face and arms are completely covered.
Correct.
The game waits 2 hours before revealing that May is a burn victim,
Yep.
even though it's relevant plot information that should have come up immediately.
Yep.
The kitchen table has a great view out into the neighborhood.
Nancy can examine the kitchen table even when it's not visible. When Nancy calls the Hardys, they claim to be in the cemetery, even though they're clearly not there.
Yeah.
Weird looks from the woman who lives here.
The text box leaves out the word "the" in Joe's sentence. Lauren is working in her shop this day. How can she be giving the Hardy boys weird looks?
Good point.
Got you.
The text box has an incorrect number of haws.
Oh boy.
The judge said there was a will.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
The word witches shouldn't have a comma after it. The menu on the wall doesn't match with the food that's on display.
You are correct. You're correct. Her Interactive released, and I say this because I labeled it for them. Once I learned what these foods were from the art team, we were able to put together a graphic to highlight and show which ones were which. But you're right. These, even with labels and knowing what these are, do not match that.
The text box is inconsistent about whether or not Coven is capitalized.
The
text box is inconsistent about whether or not Coven has quotation marks around it.
More specific than anyone else I've talked to.
Nancy has not talked to anyone else about this topic.
Right.
By the time I got home, it was almost all gone.
Most of the Hathorn house is still standing.
Yeah.
Remember where you were 3 nights back?
I was here. I told you already.
Nancy forgets she already got Lauren's alibi last night.
At least Lauren acknowledges that she already asked that.
Lauren's tea shop contains no sinks or faucets, even though there must be a faucet here, because if she was using her faucet at home, all of her customers would hallucinate.
Yeah, no, there's got to be a faucet around here somewhere. So I don't know if it was taken out or if it's like supposed to be hiding under here someplace or if it's back here. Well, I mean, it's possible that this, what is this called? It looks like an espresso machine. It could be a tea machine of some sort, but it could be plumbed right into the water plumbing system. So, I mean, it's possible.
That helps people ease their burdens. Since cold season started.
Lauren says all this without looking at Nancy.
You don't know that.
Nancy
You don't
does
see.
everyone else's chores cliche.
Yeah.
The sign says the gift shop sells magazines, yet none are available for sale.
They're behind her.
I've heard ghosts are haunting Salem.
Nancy says this to Olivia, like someone other than Olivia told her this rumor.
Yeah.
It had the name Coven on it. Look. Was it the one you talk about in your show?
Well, yes. Same coven.
Olivia pretends there is a real witch's coven, even after confessing it's made up. The text box has an incorrect number of haws. The phone numbers on these flyers contain too many digits. This exhibit closed in January, 9 months ago.
9 months ago? Are you sure it's not until next year? Next coming January?
Why does Tegan still advertise it? nightly ghost tour. This tour happens 2 days a week. If Tegan hates Olivia's tours, why does she
No, wait, look at that. It says nightly. Nightly, the word nightly means regularly. Each night. And it says every Wednesday and Saturday. That's only 2 nights a week. Good catch. Good catch.
advertise them? The newspaper on the last day of the game is dated Friday, meaning Olivia should have done her Wednesday tour on the first night Nancy was here. She didn't.
Good catch.
The flyer says you get tickets at the town square when you get tickets at the museum, not the town square.
Good catch.
The tablet tour runs daily. Why isn't Olivia outside daily?
It's a self-guided tour.
She hasn't given her alibi yet.
No, and everyone seems to have one, except her.
And Lauren, and Olivia, and Tegan. It is impossible to read the text box with the shadows turned off.
It was probably
The text box doesn't have the word I.
Books and candles are everywhere in Salem. It could be anywhere.
The text box doesn't have the word it.
Did the exhibitions manage to spark your interest?
What exhibitions?
Wrong use of word there. It should be exhibits, not exhibitions.
Usually we don't allow people up on the second floor.
Why not?
Private collections?
How did Tegan open this door without moving?
Magic. Good point.
These papers overlap each other. How is Nancy able to read them?
Yeah.
Nancy learns the Parrises changed their name to Perry.
Yep.
When Tegan tells her about it later, Nancy acts like she doesn't already know. Tegan's arms glitch. Tegan says May was charged for burning the shed, while the newspaper says May was too young to be charged.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
In real life, May never would have been convicted because Massachusetts law states a minor below the age of 12 can't be convicted of a crime without evidence.
Some people believe that ergot, which...
The game is inconsistent about how to pronounce the word ergot. The game awkwardly forces a conversation about ergot hallucinations where it doesn't belong. It was good to introduce players to the idea of ergot hallucinations, but Tegan's alibi is not the right place to do it.
Yeah.
Investigator currently working the
Okay.
Hathorn House case
That's fair.
on behalf of Judge Danforth.
Nancy isn't working on the case for the judge.
Right?
Tegan Perry,
Yes?
your girlfriend.
Right.
Does Damien not know who his girlfriend is?
Yeah, that was awkward.
These herbs aren't in Lauren's store.
Hey, what are you doing?
Sarcastic.
That's private.
The text box calls this a relieved breath.
It's not.
Lauren teleports to the left.
Yeah.
Drew, please, come in.
She's been inside your office for a minute now.
Jason, come on, we have a meeting.
We don't.
No.
There is something else I need your help with. Someone broke into the evidence room.
As you know, I want to investigate the crime scene.
I'm afraid I can't just take your word for it. I'll have it taken care of.
On the first day, Judge Danforth wants Nancy to investigate the break-in. On the second day, he doesn't.
Change of mind?
And now we have arson and break-ins.
The text box doesn't have the word and. Why does Alicia stay in Salem if she hates everyone here?
Good question.
So it's safe to say you weren't here during the theft.
I was not here. I was running errands around town.
The CCTV cameras show Alicia was here during the break-in.
Yep.
That's a bit of a confidentiality issue. But you are the daughter of a lawyer. So,
That's not how confidentiality works. Most of the stuff Alicia tells Nancy here is illegal.
Right?
A lot of stuff Judge Danforth tells Nancy is also illegal.
Yep.
and this really isn't supposed to be in your hands. If someone finds you with it, I might have to say you stole it.
Alicia casually promises to frame Nancy for a crime. Nancy doesn't think twice about this.
No, because Nancy always wants the clue.
Hey, next time, please knock before entering, okay?
Alicia makes a big deal out of knocking on her door, even though the door is always open.
True.
The game reuses the same inventory icon for the Hathorn House key and Lauren's lockbox key.
Yeah.
Nancy can take Lauren's lockbox key without giving it back to her.
Yeah.
Lauren will never be able to open the lockbox now.
Haha.
This conversation about Bitcoin is hilarious, but it is also completely random and serves no point.
That is true.
Judge Danforth's desk is not visible from this angle, but Nancy can still interact with it. When Nancy zooms in on this desk, she does not go through the door.
Oh.
You just entered my room through the wall. I want an explanation.
No glass on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
So the window was broken from the inside.
Or the glass was cleaned up sometime in the past week.
That's fair.
The photograph here shows the light on the top floor was on during the Hathorn house fire. Nancy doesn't investigate this angle.
Too bad.
Even though there was a cutscene dedicated to this mysterious third-floor light.
Yep.
The missing evidence is a chart, pictures, and testimony. Why can't Tegan make a second copy of this evidence?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Let's just say I can tell when someone is trying to hide something from me.
No.
Unless that someone is Tegan, Deirdre, Alicia, or Olivia.
Yeah.
Judge Danforth says the AW key is part of the stolen evidence, which contradicts the evidence list.
Yep.
Nancy keeps the AW key for herself instead of giving it to Judge Danforth.
Unfortunately,
That's Nancy.
must file the papers in 2 days.
The deadline is tomorrow at midnight. That's 1 day, not 2.
Yeah.
You have CCTV footage from the break-in.
Yes, we do. Huh. I had completely forgotten about those.
Judge Danforth forgets there is video footage of the break-in. Judge Danforth is an idiot.
We established that.
Nancy doesn't look through any of the papers in the Hathorn house.
Too bad.
How did the police not notice Olivia's jacket at the crime scene?
Right.
Olivia's jacket briefly disappears when Nancy looks at it.
Yeah.
It's never explained how Olivia's jacket got inside the Hathorn house.
Right?
Who was trying to frame her, and why?
Yeah. Yeah.
The desk and mirror are both in perfect condition, despite being at the center of a fire. This letter from Francis Tuttle says the will is in the house. Nancy doesn't bother to look for it.
Yeah.
Nancy doesn't show this evidence to Lauren or Judge Danforth.
And it's important for Lauren to see this.
Nancy only explores this part of the house.
Yep.
Why doesn't she explore the rest of the house?
Exactly.
Why does Jason hang out near angry protesters all day long?
I don't know.
I thought you should know there's a car parked outside in the handicapped spot.
Huh, you don't say. I'll have it taken care of.
Judge Danforth says he'll have Jason's car removed from the handicap spot, but he doesn't.
You need to come here, quickly.
Tegan says to come here without clarifying where here is.
That's fair.
Multiple times in this game, Nancy's inventory flashes on screen and instantly disappears at the start of a cutscene.
Yeah.
It's so dark, the graffiti is barely visible. The shadows on the plants change when Nancy hangs up. Why doesn't Nancy answer the phone call? Yeah, she's busy right now, but she answered Deirdre's phone call when she was busy at the start of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we're clearly showing how unimportant Ned is.
So I didn't tell you everything.
This is followed by a half confession, which doesn't reveal everything. We never learned who graffitied the Perry house or why. That's a pretty big thing for everyone to overlook.
Yeah.
Tegan is far more upset about her AW work than about her sister going to jail. Tegan is a jerk.
Yeah.
Where's May tonight?
Good question.
When Nancy calls Frank, she's standing here. When he picks up, suddenly she's standing here.
Oh,
Nancy's inventory flashes on screen, even though we're playing as Frank now. Joe really needs to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
What were the Hardys doing all day if they're just now searching for ghosts?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably doing their actually part, the part of their mystery. They were around for a case too, so maybe they're still working on their own.
Made is one word, not two. Joe made a book just for 1 page of notes. This puzzle.
Yeah, I know.
Joe's notes for this puzzle aren't helpful.
It does give you a general idea, though. Wavelength has to perfectly align with the unknown wave. So, yeah, you need to match up the two waves.
Frank's phone is useless.
Yeah, well,
Finished setting everything up.
Joe claims he set things up, but absolutely nothing is set up.
that's fair. You don't see
Olivia leaves her fog machine running, even when she's not using it.
it. Yeah.
We see all the things Olivia uses to fake ghost hauntings, but we never get to see one of the ghost hauntings. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
A
It would have
brochure
been
all
cool.
about Abigail Hathorn Woodley's life.
We don't get to read this.
Too bad.
I don't see Abigail Hathorne Woodley's grave on here, though.
Are you blind, Frank? Abigail's grave is marked with an X.
I know!
Olivia hides things in a public location.
Yeah.
This box is wider than the plant covering it.
Yeah.
How was it not visible?
Right.
What is the other thing in the box with the decoder? I want to see it.
I think it looks like another fog machine, actually.
If you pause at the right moment, you see 2 decoders on screen at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
This puzzle.
No, it's a good puzzle.
This puzzle
that's
desperately needs instructions.
Yeah, it could use a little hint, because when there's no shape or symbol right here in these 4, then it's not very intuitive. But I made a video. On how to solve this, if you check out my videos.
The game got rid of the hint button that was in previous games.
Yep.
A strange note is added to Frank's inventory, but players never get a chance to look at it in the inventory.
That strange note is what you just decoded. You just finished looking at it.
Since the rest of the Frank segment is all cutscenes.
Oh, this is just a list of chores.
Joe should have realized it was a chore list halfway through the puzzle.
I think Frank was doing it, right?
There flashes in the lower left corner of the screen.
Yeah.
It's dated tonight.
There was no date on the note.
That's true.
Why does Olivia hide her chore list in code in a cemetery?
Good question, but then it's a puzzle kind of thing, so everyone's a puzzle meister in the Nancy Drew games. It's just a thing.
Olivia just happens to show up after the Hardys decode her note. The leaves at the base of the tree change.
Woodley's grave.
What are you talking about? It's not here.
The Hardys confront their main suspect. Instead of showing what happens next, the game abruptly jumps ahead a few minutes to when everyone is drinking tea together.
Yeah.
The Hardy boys are stupid enough to accept a poisoned drink from their main suspect.
Yeah.
What did the Hardys and Olivia talk about during the few minutes that the game skipped over?
It's not fair.
Did
We
they
don't
just
know.
stand around and drink in silence?
Mm-hmm.
Where did the tea and teacups come from? Olivia clearly isn't holding any tea here.
Maybe she has a trick dress. She's got hidden pockets with just hidden pockets in her dress. I don't know.
Abigail Hathorne Woodley's ghost.
The word Woodley isn't in the text box.
I know.
Take the keys for my car. It's way too far of a walk all the way there.
The cemetery is not within walking distance of the house.
No, not unless you
Therefore,
know a
the Hardys
shortcut.
and Olivia drove here, so why are they all out of breath?
Good point. Okay, actually, you guys, this is a really good spot to break up the video, and I will see you in the next video. Comment below what you've seen so far here in this video, and yeah, I'm having some fun. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, come back tomorrow. Bye.